Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
It is time again as we broadcast live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Charlie using other side of the glass. Chicago Charlie doing his thing. I was funny on social media last night. I saw some Cub accounts talking about flying the L for the Brewers. Did you see the Brewers respond to all of this the other day on Twitter about, oh, it's classless and everything else? They quote tweeted a Cubs tweet from 24 or whatever of a Cubs win. They got the little W flag flying in the thing or whatever else. And their tweet was, this is our crew, is what the tweet was, with the little W flag flying. And the Brewers like retweeted it and said, remember this, with the owl flag, on their field, doing it to the Cubs. So the Brewers social media account was kind of pointing back to like, y'all started this.
You just made yourself zoom in by doing the L flag.
Oh, sorry. Whoopsie.
That one you did actually do it.
Yeah. So sorry about that. But anyways, so this is kind of what was going on there last night, where Cub fans were all like, I'm staying up to watch it so I can put the L flag towards the Brewers fans. Whatever. Go to sleep. The thing we were talking about before, about gold gloves, who deserves them, and so forth, Charlie dove more into the numbers in the break. Joey Ortiz was the guy that we were looking at, because Charlie was like, hey, man, highlight plays and so forth. Maybe Terang doesn't have as many this year as he had previously. Well, Joey Ortiz has a ton of highlight plays this year. Seemingly every game there's a highlight play from Joey Ortiz. He definitely did not make the finalist for Gold Glove. And I said, maybe it's his bat. That's what's holding him back. And then Charlie's like, hey, could Brian Hayes and him have similar numbers? So, okay. So what is the D WAR of... And that's win above replacement. That is a stat that they use. They have general WAR, win above replacement, and that's how they judge overall values of baseball players and so forth. So what's the D WAR?
So if we look at Joey Ortiz, he had a respectable 0.6 D WAR, which matches his 0.6 O WAR, which culminates in a 0.3 overall WAR for the player.
So 0.6 plus 0.6 equals 0.3? Mm-hmm. That makes no sense, but okay, that's fine. Keep going.
So that's where he's standing. If we head over to Brian Hayes, he had an overall WAR of 1.5. He had a 2.4 D WAR and a negative 0.4 O WAR.
That's the other part about this that I guess I didn't realize, and something that Charlie brought up. He's like, now wait a second. If his win above replacement is that bad defensively, why is he playing all the time? Like, why didn't they sit him for a better bat at some point if his defense wasn't as good as necessarily we all thought? Now, again, we're eye testing it, right? That's what we're doing. As fans, we eye test it. We don't dive into the numbers and all this other stuff. If you're going to call up and be like, hey, Sparky, explain this advanced stat to me. Wrong show. Call Tommy over on the Mason Crosby show before us, noon to 2 with Mitch Thunder and Ellis. Tommy can dive into the advanced stat numbers. I'm the wrong guy to ask formulas of the advanced stats. So most of us aren't going to go in there and do that. But eye test, he looks really, really good to me, and I would like Joey Ortiz. But if Matt Arnold, the general manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, values these numbers coming from Tampa Bay, working with David Stearns, who came from Houston, both those franchises value numbers highly, you just wonder whether or not Joey Ortiz is still here, say, come next September, if offensively he does not get going.
I think the real question is, how close does Matt Arnold think some of these guys in the minor leagues are right now? And I think that's part of the reason you let Joey Ortiz just play out the rest of the season. If you feel like a Cooper Pratt can come up eventually here in the next season and play shortstop for you, then maybe you hold on to a Joey Ortiz. If you feel like a Jesus Made, maybe the way he's flying up through the minors can get to the major leagues by next season some point, that might be crazy. Brock Wilken, if you want somebody to play third base and move Caleb Durbin over to shortstop or something. There's a lot of options down in that minor league system that I think allows you to say, you know what, we're safe with a Joey Ortiz right now. Yeah, it's not amazing. Yeah, he's not giving you maybe all that much, but it's enough to keep you afloat right now and keep you afloat at the top team in the league.
The question that we have now here at 3:00, before we get into the Packers, some great comments made by Priest Holmes, the former Chiefs running back on the Home Stretch podcast, about the Packers and about Micah Parsons and about them possibly being a Super Bowl team. Neil Smith, former Chiefs defensive end, who was amazing back in the day. He was also on the podcast talking about Micah Parsons and the Packers. We'll get into some of that coming up in the next segment. But I want to stay on the Brewers here. I brought this up to Jerry Augustine when we had him on a little bit. How much do you think pressure has played into the Brewers losing these first two games? Pressure of the moment, being one of the youngest teams in baseball. How much do you think that plays into them not being able to get going offensively and not put up the runs that they were putting up prior to this series and have been throughout the course of the entire season? What, second best batting average in the National League or in baseball, I think, this last year? So they've had offensive numbers all year. This has not been a talking point of, oh boy, the Brewers offense struggles. We came in and we said, hey, you average 4 or 5 runs, which seemed feasible for the Brewers. You should win the series. And they're averaging like 1 or 2. That's it. That's all they're averaging. They got to do better than that. But how much of this is pressure in your mind? Nicolay Law Fan Talk and text line 414-677-1250. 414-677-1250. I appreciate the calls. I will read the text. We've got lots of text there in the first hour, so I'll continue to read text if you guys want to text in. I prefer calls. And the reason I prefer calls is, as much as I love talking to Charlie, I'd much rather talk to y'all listening, wherever you may be, right? So if you call up, then you and I can go back and forth. If it's on text, I read it, it's over, I move forward. Now, you may text back later, then it's up to me if I see it to read your response. Or if you call in, we can go back and forth a little bit. That's why I like the calls. But either way, Nicolay Law, talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. I think pressure absolutely plays into this. I don't, to me, there's not a question in my mind. The way offensively they have changed their approach. You went from being a patient team to the trader in Chicago, the manager of the Cubs, the trader talking about, he teaches them not to swing. Okay. Then you come out, you ambush him, you go early, and you put up 6 runs in the first or whatever it was, right? So, one of two things. A, they're overthinking maybe. And now they're like, oh, everybody expects us not to swing. So we're just going to try and ambush everybody and go early in counts and start swinging. It's not working. It's not working. Can we stop now? Game 1 against Blake Snell. I begged and pleaded, please take pitches. Get this dude out of there by the 6th inning if possible. And get to that bullpen. Please, please, please take pitches. Do you realize in that game last night, what inning was it? The 8th inning, I believe, was like a 4-pitch inning for Yamamoto. You're in the 8th inning. The dude threw 4 pitches. What are we doing? Like, I don't understand. And I get, well, they're throwing strikes, Sparky. You don't want to be down 0-2. Okay. But if you continue to give him single-digit pitch innings, he's going to be in the game even longer as we go forward. Like, how many times? Here's another one. How many times have they had a 20-pitch inning from either one of these two pitchers in the first 2 games of this series?
The only person they did was Roki Sasaki,
right,
and they took him out of the game after 20 pitches.
And I'm talking about the stars.
I know. I'm just saying that
right,
if you can get to these guys, the Dodgers have plans for these players. They have them on limits. They have a certain way that they want to go about this. And if you can get to their bullpen, maybe they can start freaking out a little bit too.
Last night in that game against Yamamoto, they definitely made better contact than they did against Snell. No question. There was more hard hit balls, more line drives. They were outs, but more line drives. Another observation. I don't feel like they're swinging for the fences a lot. I mean, I don't know if everybody feels that same way, but I feel that way watching this thing. I feel like they're trying to change it with every time they get up. There's somebody's trying to go yard to make a difference because they're struggling to score runs. Instead of just bat meets ball, put the ball in play and let's go. It doesn't seem to be nearly as much of that going on as we've seen before. Hard hit balls down the line and into the corner, run, baby, run. I've been a lot of that going on. You could talk about stolen bases, but they haven't had base runners to steal with half the time. So you can't even really get mad about that. So that also works against it. That's why I think pressure, either, like I said, two things. Either they're outsmarting themselves and telling them to ambush guys, which is a horrible strategy based on what we've seen the first two games, or the pressure is just getting to them. I mean, Murphy said it. The pitchers for the Dodgers have made the Brewers look the worst they've looked all year. Worst they've looked all year. Chasing at bad pitches. Chasing at pitches out of the zone. Yelich was doing it yesterday. Turang, that big strikeout he had in game one, that was like at his eyes. That's out of the zone. That's uncharacteristic. The thing that made the Brewers so good was not that they took pitches, but their pitch selection of what they were swinging at. The ability to fight off pitches that they didn't like to keep an at-bat alive. That's what made them dangerous. Not striking out. Now all of a sudden, we're getting 9-10 strikeouts every game. And I'm not trying to take away anything from Snell or Yamamoto. Both are really good pitchers. But the approach to me at the plate is not the same as we've seen throughout the year. And I would think most of you would probably agree with that as well. Nicolay Law, talk and text line 414-677-1250. 414-677-1250. Do you think the pressure has played into the Brewers losing their first two games? Let's go to Brian in McGuanago. You're up next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up, Brian?
Hey, Sparky, man, it's so good to hear you back on the air.
You betcha.
Hey, what you had, exactly what I've been thinking since the Cubs series. I can't tell you from the beginning of the year to the end of the year before the playoffs started how many times individual Brewer batters got into double-digit pitch counts, which really puts a lot of pressure on the other team's pitcher by the third or fourth inning.
Yep.
But the classic example, what you just said exactly, bases loaded, bottom of the ninth, and Trang struck out with a ball that was at head level or higher. They didn't do that during the season. They drove the balls to the gaps big time, and the home runs just came naturally. But if you see some of the swings, it looks like the pressure's mounting. It's even in the sixth, and it's like they're almost waiting for the Dodger to hit a home run, and so they figure they got to hit one first. And I've seen that in the last game at least 4 or 5 times, where the same player that swung in that game did not swing like that all year. I think the pressure's just getting to them. They're just young, and I think they're trying to compete against the Dodgers' power instead of playing their game and don't worry about the Dodgers.
Correct. It's like if you are let's go back to like the Dick Bennett Badgers back in the day, right? Bunch of white dudes out there playing super slow, relying on the 3-point shot and slowing the ball down and moving and eventually taking a shot after like 5 minutes. But when they played a team like Arizona that year in the NCAA tournament, who had NBA players all over their roster and wanted to get up and run, the Badgers weren't trying to get up and run. They slowed it down and played their tempo. Bennett didn't want them to play any other way. They would have tried to run Arizona. They would have got ran out of the gym. In that instance, they beat and upset Arizona and sent them home packing. You have to play your game that benefits you and can't let the other team take you out of it. And in baseball, normally, that doesn't happen. But for whatever the reason, it appears it has happened with the Milwaukee Brewers. Thanks for the call. Good to hear from you too, Brian. Take care. There it is. Brian in Muskego. Let's go to Tony in Sussex. You're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's going on, Tony?
Hey, Sparky. I think you got something to that because they won 97 games, scored, I think, the most runs, right, this year of anybody. It's not like they haven't seen these types of pitches before. But what kind of is telling to me is the last 10 games of the season, I think they went 4-6 or something. So they did not look good at all. They were dropping all these games, which isn't like the Dodgers. I think they went 10-2 or 8-2 or whatever like that. But saying, and that tells something. I mean, then they got on fire at Miller Park when they played the Cubs for 2 games. After that, it was a struggle. It was a dogfight. But I mean, it's not like these guys have never seen these types of pitches before, and they're like, "Wow, what did he do?" And I mean, it's got to be something. Something got in their head. The way they're approaching this, it's just over the top, especially for this pitcher to go pitch a full game. I mean, you're a pro. You've been doing this all your life. you're at that level. You should be able to jump on some of those pitches. And it's just weird how that is. I mean, your defense has been fine.
Tony, let me ask you this. So the fact that they're down 2-0, does that take pressure off? I mean, Pat Murphy said after the game, 90% of the time, nobody comes back from this deficit. So now does Murphy go, all right, now nobody thinks we're going to win it. Everybody thinks we're dead now. So everybody just relax, and go out there. Let's just go out there and have fun because nobody thinks we're going to win this series anyhow. Does it actually, in a weird way, help the Brewers by taking some of the pressure off being down 2-0?
To me, it doesn't. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a player, but in my mindset, it would be like, yeah, you always have that pressure. I would always have that pressure. This is the playoffs. You want to do good.
Right.
I don't think it does. I really don't. I don't think that would take any pressure off at all. I mean, they can still do it. I mean, they're playing a bunch of superstars, and things like that too. But the Brewers are a good team too. Okay?
Absolutely,
they can hit the ball.
They have the best record in baseball. Absolutely, they're a good team. Tony, thanks for the call. Take care. There's Tony in Sussex. We're gonna get to a timeout here coming up, but yes, I was listening to 9 to Noon with John Kuhn, Rami Makloff, Brandon Snide producing earlier today, and they were going back and forth about David versus Goliath. And this whole conversation. And Rami Makloff was just besides himself. Like, dude, shut up. Enough. I'm so sick of hearing about it. And John Kuhn and Brandon Snide, to their credit, tried their best to deal with Rami. I'm with Rami. You won 97 games, man. You're the 1 seed. And I understand, Brandon Snide going, yeah, but the Dodgers are like the hottest team. They've won like 12 or 13 or whatever the number was that Snide threw out there. And look at they're all Hall of Famers on this roster, all the money they spend and everything else. Okay, fine. But Rami's point was, man, when you are 97 wins, the 1 seed, you've beat them 6 times. You're 4 games better than them or whatever it was. Worst case scenario, it's probably an even series. Maybe a slight advantage to the Dodgers if you believe in all the talent, fine. But it's certainly not David versus Goliath. Like David versus Goliath would be, I don't know, a team with like 105 wins going up against a wild card team that gets on some magic mystery run that got into the playoffs with like 79 or 80 wins. Dodgers are at like 105. They got no business being in the NLCS. Now everybody's looking at you going, okay, go beat them. And you're like 25 games worse than them in the regular season and just got on a roll at the right time. That's David versus Goliath. I agree with Rami. I don't think this is David versus Goliath. You could say it is from a payroll perspective, but as everybody has talked about, we don't play it on paper. You still got to go out there and play. And when you play the same team, minus obviously Snell, outside of that, it's the same dudes. You've controlled Ohtani this whole time. Betts hasn't killed you. You've taken care of Betts. Both of those guys, they're both Hall of Famers. This pitching staff's figured it out. So I am 1,000% on the side of Rami Makloff that I think the David versus Goliath thing is a bunch of crap. They say it because of payroll size. I understand. They say it because of names on the roster. I get it. But realistically, as far as how both of these teams played this year, how they played against each other in the regular season and so forth, I don't think this is David versus Goliath either.
I don't think so either. I think this is more like in like superhero comics when like Superman has that bizarro version of himself that just happens to be a little bit stronger than him, and it feels like he does everything he can, but just never gets to that point of being as strong till the end where he finally beats him. That's what this feels like more. The Brewers are still Superman. They're still a superhero. They still got all this ton of power. But then when you're facing somebody who also has a ton of power, who also has everything that you have, but just with guys who have done it for their entire careers versus guys that have done it for just the past 2 years, right? It's startling. Like you said, it's a lot of pressure to face somebody who is you, who's doing it better than you.
I have a confession.
What's that?
I don't believe I've ever read a comic book.
Ever?
I don't think so.
I haven't read that many.
I would have to check with my parents. But I don't remember ever reading an entire comic book. Like I remember reading a page or two and be like, oh, this is boring, and putting it away and just moving on. But I don't think I've actually sat down cover to cover, ever read a comic book.
I think my knowledge just comes more so from the fact that I'm saturated throughout my youth with superhero movies and stuff.
Right, absolutely.
Like you haven't had as much of that.
Correct. Yeah, no, I totally get it. Hey, got to hit up Potawatomi, baby. You can win big this October at Potawatomi. Play the Bird Bash game show for $50,000 in cash. Play with your Potawatomi rewards card for entries. Prize drawings on Thursdays. Plus, Your play also earns you a shot at the $300,000 December season finale. It's a Bird Bash, only at Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee. For more details, visit paysbig.com/Bird Bash. Coming up next, we're going to talk about a podcast that Priest Holmes does, former Kansas City Chiefs running back. Really, really good. Remember back in the day, Priest Holmes and Amon Green were like the two best backs in football there for a little bit. Priest Holmes was amazing. So he does this podcast called The Home Stretch. And he had Neil Smith on. Who else did he have on besides Neil Smith? Didn't he have somebody else on too?
It was Neil Smith and I'm gonna blank here. I have to
Well, whatever, it doesn't matter. So Priest Holmes, Neil Smith, legendary defensive end for the Kansas City Chiefs. They get into talking about the Packers. They get into talking about Micah Parsons, the whole deal. We're gonna play some of those clips and talk.
Will Shields.
Who? Will Shields?
Will Shields.
Offensive lineman, really good too. What are fair expectations for Micah Parsons going forward after watching his first 5 games in Green Bay? I don't want you to respond yet. Don't respond to the question yet. I want you to hear what they think. Former NFL players. I want you to hear what they think first. Then after you hear what they say, then I want to respond. All right, let's play it that way. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbooks. Sparky here. Welcome back. See Sparky Fifer with you. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. How y'all doing here on a Wednesday? We're going to get to the Packers and this Priest Holmes podcast that he did. Their thoughts on Micah Parsons and the Packers coming up momentarily. But first, one more here on the Brewers. John and Franklin, you're next on the Nicolay Law Fan Talk text line. We were asking before the break, how much do you think pressure has played into the Brewers losing their first two games?
I think it plays a lot, and I'll give you a little extrapolation here on that. I think obviously there's been some exceptional pitching performances, which in fact has been aided by the Brewers and their lack of plate discipline. And I think there's a feeling, and even as a fan watching it, I'm almost hoping for a home run because the way the game, those two games went, thinking you were going to get 4 hits in a row was fantasy.
Well, that's apparently how they're swinging too, John. I think they're doing the same thing. Well, we're struggling so bad, let's just swing for the fences.
I think there's some desperation there. I think that and Murphy's, I think he's going to calm them down. I know it doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to bet the game, but I think they're going to come out and I think they're going to win game 3. I think they're going to go back to somewhat what they were doing. I understand they've got exceptional pitchers, but these at-bats were just, some of these at-bats were, they were a joke.
Yes. Horrible. Absolutely horrible, John. I totally agree with you. Thanks for the call. Yes. Horrible. That's why I think it's pressure is mounted and they're doing stuff completely away from what's been the normal all year long. Completely away from it. You know how this is going to go, right? I'm telling you. If they lose this series, it's going to go the way I've been predicting it's going to go. It's going to be, hey, man, we thought we were going to get this far. We had the best wins in the regular season. We can't compete with their payroll. Look at all the Hall of Famers over there. People didn't even know our guys for most of the season. I'm proud of these guys. It was a heck of a run. Told you guys all year long, that we were doing what we could with what we had, but we can't compete with it. You could just hear it now, right? You could just hear Pat Murphy just blah, 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 blah about how we weren't that good. And I told you we just had a bunch of average Joes and they got Hall of Famers. And how can you expect us to compete? And payroll disparity will come up, I'm sure, at some point. All this, it's all happening. He's been running this setup the whole year if they were to lose this series. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that payroll disparity isn't a big deal. It is a big deal. Absolutely. Brandon Snipe brought that up earlier on 9 to Noon with Kuhn as well, which is, hey, man, the reason these guys are making all the money is because they are future Hall of Famers, because they are that damn good to deserve all that money. That is why they pay them the money they do. I mean, they're all healthy right now. Right? If the Brewers run into these guys and there is no Snell, there is no Glasnow, and Ohtani's hurt, well, then everybody's like, Brewers going to win this series, right? Then everything changes. But they're all healthy, and they're all rolling and playing well. Ohtani and Betts aren't playing well, but the pitchers are all pitching well as far as the 2 starters gone so far.
And they don't need to play well when the pitchers are playing well. So, yeah.
Right. Absolutely right. So, but again, I'm dreading, just absolutely dreading hearing him. In fact, I may just say we're not playing him after they lose because I may just get so mad listening to him that I may just have to turn it off and be like, no, I'm not doing this. I think
we kind of have to.
No, we don't.
No, we have to. You got
to
hear
what he's
our
show.
show.
We can make the rules. We can do whatever we want on this show. We do not have to do anything. That's trust me, all the other shows, they're all going to play. Josh Albrecht's going to play it in the morning from 6 to 9. Pat Murphy, guarantee it. Then 9 to noon with John Kuhn, Rami Makloff, and Brandon Snipe.
Can only listen
then
to
Mason Crosby, Mitch Thunder, now listen, Tommy Wirtz. They'll play it from noon to 2 on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. By the time we get to this show, people have already gone heard it. I don't got to play it.
I don't know. Some people can only listen to us sometimes, Sparky. You know, they may want to hear what Pat Murphy had to say.
Furthermore, don't forget 5 o'clock Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up Show with Tommy Wirtz. If you're new to the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, the Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up Show kind of goes through things from earlier in the day from all the other shows, and Tommy kind of gives his takes on everything. Plus, he opens up the phone line so you can dial in and talk with Tommy throughout as he's doing different topics through that. So 5 to 6, the Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up Show coming up across the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network at 5 o'clock. Okay, I want to talk or play a couple of these things from Priest Holmes and Neil Smith, I think, is another one, right? We have Neil Smith as well and let you listen to all of this, because Priest Holmes and Neil Smith and their thought on how good they think Micah Parsons is and what this means for Micah Parsons and so forth is pretty crazy. So let's first start with Priest Holmes. This is from the podcast, the Holmes Stretch podcast. Priest Holmes on why he thinks Micah Parsons is going to be the defensive player of the year. Want to know why? You want to know why? Because the Packers gave up a haul. And that dude feels that there's a responsibility that comes with him, not only signing an extension for crazy amounts of money, but also because they gave up so much to get you that you need to go out there and put on a show to justify what they did, to go out of their way to come get you, give up multiple ones and a good player in Kenny Clark, and then pay you $50-some million a year. I think with Micah Parsons, there is that responsibility of, I better go do this even better than I was doing before to kind of justify this for everybody and, pay it off that, hey, man, I am worth it. I'm going to get us a ring. We're going to win a ring one way or the other here. That is how you want a player to react. You do not want a player to react with, whoo, I'm set. My family's set. Their family's set. Their family's set. We're good. Now I just got to get through these next 4 years healthy. So I can walk when I'm, 60 years old, and we're out of here. I'm going to retire. And you're laughing. You're like, he can't retire. What are you talking about? Man, Zadarius Smith just retired. Just out. The Zadarius Smith thing, everybody's like, why did he retire? Ross Tucker does a great job as an NFL analyst, former player, insider that we've had on before on this show. Broke it down on his Ross Tucker podcast. You only need so many games to qualify for it being a full year of service time to get you that extra year of pension towards your pension. So what he thinks happened was Zadarius Smith knew he probably wasn't going to want to play all year, but he wanted to play 3 games, I think it was, or 4 games. And then once you play that, it counts as a year of service time towards your pension. So he played his 3 or 4 games and said, I'm out. See you later. And collected the extra pension money.
That's pretty smart.
So now, Micah Parsons nor Zadarius Smith really needs pension money with as much money as they've made. So whether or not that's true or not, I'm not quite sure. But Micah Parsons very well could, after 4 years, be like, I'm good. Let's see it go. I'll see you later. I'm out. The one thing I don't know is this. I don't know how important it is for Micah Parsons to be remembered as the greatest pass rusher of all time. How important is it to Micah Parsons to be the leading sacker of all time in Green Bay? I don't know. How important is it to Micah Parsons to have a Super Bowl ring or 2 or 3? See, we know how important it was to Kobe. We know how important it is to Giannis. We know that because they talk about it nonstop all the time. Michael Jordan, all the time, right? I don't know where Micah Parsons' head is on this. I don't know how important it is to be at the top of that hill like that. Now, he's very humble when talking about comparing him to Reggie White after 4 years, averaging 12 sacks and all that. Very humble in that aspect and saying, man, it's honor and privilege to be compared to Reggie White. That's cool. I'm down with that. But that's the other thing that you need to figure out. Now, the other part of this, too, if we're being honest, the man is held at every damn play. I mean, every play, he's got an arm around his neck as he's trying to get around the corner, Charlie. So it's not like this man is loafing and not trying to get after the quarterback here, but they are holding and grabbing, and I guarantee you the same thing was happening in Dallas as well.
It definitely was happening in Dallas too. I mean, you look at what he's able to do, even with everybody holding him consistently. He still makes a huge impact on the game, no matter where he is on the field, whether it's three guys blocking him or not. And I kind of want to go back to that Cowboys trade. It's not looking as good of a trade. One of my favorite things on like Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays after an NFL Sunday is to watch offensive line film and just like see people react to it. Different people that have broke it down before. The Carolina Panthers absolutely demolished Kenny Clark that entire game. And the Packers keep looking like a top 5 team in football just based off of their record and their ability and how low everybody else is playing right now. Those picks may not be worth too much. I mean, the Packers may have gotten a steal now, man.
You know, that's an interesting thing that you bring up there as far as, you know, what this ends up looking like at the end of the day, because now you have Neil Smith, who is an unbelievable pass rusher back in the day, him and Derek Thomas for the Kansas City Chiefs. He is on the home stretch and talks about what he thinks about Micah Parsons. Wait till you hear this. We are talking about the single season sack record, right? That's what we're talking about here. What is that? Like 22 and a half or something like that?
Yep.
22 and a half? I don't think, I mean, I don't know. I would think schematically, there is no way NFL teams in this league are going to let anybody destroy them to that level consistently every week. Now, again, there's more games too, right? So he gets an additional game to get to whatever it is, 22 and a half or whatever the record is. Who has that record? Is it Watt?
TJ Watt.
TJ Watt,
I think is tied with, off the top of my head, Lawrence Taylor, I want to say, but I'm going to double check.
And Lawrence Taylor did 16 games, right? Just to be fair. They're not playing 17 games. I think that's awfully high.
Or, excuse me, Strahan, not Taylor.
Yeah, but again, that was Brett Favre falling down for him. Mm-hmm. That was crap too. If we're being honest, he gave Strahan that record. TJ Watts was far more realistic and far more real, I think, than the other ones. So to think about how good this dude's going to be in a Green Bay Packer uniform, when you hear two great players like Priest Holmes and Neil Smith talk about it on the Homestretch podcast, really puts everything into perspective. Charlie's Sounds of the Day is coming up next. If you love Wendy's classic chocolate and vanilla frosty flavors, there's some big news. They're all new Frosty Swirls and now Frosty Fusions. It's the same creamy treat you've always loved. Now they flavor refresh. What are these new flavors? Okay, well, we got the Frosty Swirls, strawberry, brownie batter, and caramel, and now the Frosty Fusions. Yeah, you can pick chocolate or vanilla-based Frosty for any of these, right? Now you have Oreo brownie, caramel crunch, pieces of toffee, and Pop-Tart strawberry. So clock in for sweet treat time with Wendy's all-new Frosty flavors. A refresh on a classic. It's got to be Wendy's. I personally love the Oreo brownie fusion. with the brownie batter, obviously, the chunks of Oreo, the chocolate base. As a chocolate lover like I am, it is my favorite. Charlie, what say you?
Strawberry Pop-Tart with the vanilla. It's perfect. Strawberry shortcake.
There you go. It's Charlie Houston, C Sparky Fifer with you. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Welcome back. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios. See Sparky, Fifer, Charlie using other side of the glass. And it's time to get to Charlie's favorite segment of the day. And I'll be honest, I really like it too.
1, 2, 3. What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
This segment brought to you by Prize Picks. I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of the sports season on Prize Picks. Whether you're a football fan, a basketball fan, or a fan of both like I am, it always feels good to be right. And like I always say, Prize Picks, daily fantasy, right? All you're doing is more or less. At least 2 player stat projections. Now you can stack as well. They offer stacking, which means you can stack the same player, 2 or 3 times, which is a beautiful thing. So let's say Giannis, if you wanted to stack Giannis at this point, you could stack Giannis with like rebounds, blocks, points. If you wanted to do it that way, that is another way you could go about doing it. So big fan of stacking things. The other thing as well that you need to know is they have a max discount going on right now, coming up for Steph Curry. A max discount going on right now for his game coming up on October 21st. Steph Curry is discounted to only needing to go for more than a half a point. Mix and match players from football, basketball, and baseball to build your dream lineup today. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code SPARKY, SPARKY, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code SPARKY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for details. All right, Charlie Usen, go ahead.
All right, first up here, we're going to head over to Fair Territory, the sister podcast of Foul Territory, hosted by Ken Rosenthal. On there, he was discussing the Dodgers suffocating the Brewers in the first 2 games of this series.
8 innings from Snell, 9 from Yamamoto, and they've basically suffocated the Brewers. It's as simple as that. It's no discredit to the Brewers. They ran up against 2 incredible pitchers and 2 guys at the top of their game. And the Brewers' issue from the start of this series was the fact that their pitching is not as whole as it was, say, in July. There's no Woodruff. There are other issues that have come up, and it's just a little bit of a shame that they're kind of operating at a disadvantage. Don't really have a starter for game 3. But all credit to the Dodgers here. And I know I've questioned them. You've questioned them, Alana, I believe as well, for kind of coasting through the season. Well, they seem to have the right idea. They seem to be doing this right. There's 2 games away from going back to the World Series with a chance to be the first back-to-back champions since the 1998 to 2000 Yankees.
They have a chance to win 3, 4, 5 championships in a row before this whole thing is said and done. They're that loaded. The key for the Dodgers, obviously, is always going to be the same thing. Have to be healthy come the right time of the year. And right now they are. Can they stay healthy? Don't know. And we'll see if they can take care of the Brewers in LA. The Brewers are not dead yet, down 2-0. We'll see how that plays out going forward. All right, what's next?
Next up here, we're going to hear from Indiana head coach Kirk Cignetti on how the media and voters cover NCAA football and whether or not it's fair.
And let's face it, college athletics, college football has really changed a lot, in the last 5, 10, 15 years. And there's a division. There's no doubt about it in the media. And a lot of it's tied into whatever TV network is covering which conference. And then you're going to have sports writers that support those schools and are against the other schools. So there is definitely a great divide.
And that was on the Joel Klatt show on CBS Sports. Joel Klatt just moved right past that, did not acknowledge the fact that Cignetti pointed out that division.
There is a huge division, and that's what people don't want to talk about. And I like Cignetti a lot, the head football coach at Indiana, college football coach. He's really, really good. He's turned that program around quickly and put him in position to compete for a national championship, something Luke Fickell has failed at miserably to get done at Wisconsin. So clearly you see that it gets done. The difference is, I think, don't have facts on this, but it appears Indiana has a bunch of money flowing at them right now to help with NIL and paying players. Mark Cuban, the latest, to get involved there. It does not appear the Badgers have that coming at them, at least publicly, not that we know of at this point. All right, what's next?
And last up here, we're going to hear from Dodger star Teoscar Hernandez on staying at the Pfister Hotel and the rumors of ghosts.
For me, it's whatever. I don't believe in ghosts. I have stayed in there before. I never see anything or hear anything. But my wife is in this trip, and she says she doesn't want to stay there, so we have to find another hotel. But I've been hearing from other players and other wives that it's something happening in this couple of nights.
Okay. So those of you that aren't familiar around the rest of the state, Pfister Hotel, famous hotel, downtown Milwaukee, has been the team hotel for away teams for the Bucks forever and a day. Away teams for the Brewers as well will stay there. And it's like, it has been for a long time. I don't know how it fares against the other teams, the other hotels now that have been built recently, but for the longest time, it was the best hotel down there. Okay. They were featured on Ghost Hunters, the whole deal. So this isn't some made up thing. They've been all over it. They don't like it being talked about. They get mad when you talk about it publicly on the radio and so forth. I don't know. I've never stayed there. I've drank in their bar. I've ate there. I've never actually stayed in a hotel there. If you believe in ghosts and you're cool with it, it's all good. If little things like that freak you out, then you got to make that hard decision about what you want to do and where you want to stay. Right?
Do you believe in ghosts?
Absolutely. I'm out of time to tell you a story. Other side, I'll tell you a story about me and a ghost. That's coming up next. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Up next, Green and Gold Update. We'll hear from Matt LaFleur straight ahead.